Thank you very much. My name is Aisha Tami Haq. I'll be moderating this debate. The principal purpose of this debate is to help this House, the audience, all of you, to reach a better judgment about the matter at hand. But it's one thing to talk about aid and quite another to be bound by all the strings that come with aid. So the content and the format should help all the participants learn about the subject in a purposeful manner, in order to help make better informed opinions, if not to reach a conclusive decision. There will be two representatives from each side of the House, the proposition and the opposition, and we will follow a sequenced allotted time for this event. I'd like to introduce the speakers, which I'll do all together, if you don't mind. The first speaker for the proposition is Dr. Ashfaq Hassan Khan. Dr. Ashfaq Hassan Khan is currently the Principal and Dean of School of Social Sciences and Humanities at the National University of Sciences and Technology, Islamabad. He's also a member of the Economic Advisory Council of the Government of Pakistan and has recently been elected a member of the Board of Trustees of the International Islamic University, Islamabad. Dr. Khan has been the Special Secretary, Finance, Director General, Debt Office and Economic Advisor, Ministry of Finance, for over 11 years. He has also been the spokesman for the Government of Pakistan on economic issues. In recognition of his outstanding contributions in the field of economics and public policy, the President conferred the Sitara Imtiaz on Dr. Khan in 2005. The Economic Cooperation Council, ECO, also conferred on him the ECO Excellence Award 2010 for his outstanding contribution in the field of economics. Dr. Khan. Our first speaker for the against the motion is Mr. Fuad Chaudhry. I'm sure you all know him. He's a lawyer by profession, a politician by conviction. He joined the media around 3 years ago and has emerged as a powerful liberal voice on our television screens. Mr. Chaudhry hosts a primetime television show, Khabar Se Ke Piche, on Neo. He belongs to a prominent political family of the Punjab and has been advisor to the Prime Minister. He is now spokesperson for the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf. Our other speaker for the proposition is Mr. Naeem Sadiq, an industrial engineer by training. Naeem has been working as a consultant and a trainer in the field of occupational health and safety for the last 25 years. Prior to that, he spent 4 years as the principal of PIA's Training Center, Karachi. I think he needs to go back there. Mr. Sadiq also writes on issues of social and environmental concerns, de-weaponization, freedom of information, electoral reform, environmental protection are his areas of special interest. He is the author of 2 books on the environment and occupational health and safety management systems. And our fourth debater who will be speaking against the motion is Mr. Herman Bergsma. He is an experienced team leader on a very large multi-sectoral, including infrastructure, post-disaster recovery rehabilitation programs in Haiti, Indonesia, and has managed infrastructure projects of low-cost shelters for flood affectees in Bangladesh. Mr. Bergsma has extensive working experience in Pakistan with national and provincial governments and as well as non-government organizations. So ladies and gentlemen, these are our 4 debaters. Welcome to this debate. There is an app on your phones. You can use it to participate in the pre-poll. So if you just go to your app and put in your vote now before the debate of how you view this aid for Pakistan, yes or no, put in your vote, and then after the debate, we'll ask you to re-vote. So we'll compare the 2 polls. So go to your apps now and debate. So I'd like to first request Dr. Ashfaq Hassan Khan to speak for the motion.
Thank you very much. And I was really impressed by seeing such a galaxy of young people in this hall. The topic is also very important, but I don't know whether I will be speaking for or speaking against, because as a student of economics, while sitting in the Ministry of Finance, whatever I will say is based on my experience, both academic and practical. Now, foreign aid, why a country, developing country like Pakistan, seeks foreign aid? The reason is that this developing countries like Pakistan carry a large baggage of poor population, unemployed youth, and they want to create jobs for these people. They want to educate these youth people. Pakistan is a young country. The average age of Pakistani people is only 20 years old. There are more than 56% population of Pakistan is below 20 years. So we are a very young population, and it is the compulsion of the government to educate these people, young people. So to educate them, we require resources, and once they are educated, we need to provide them jobs. On both accounts, Pakistan, developing countries like Pakistan, must grow at a much faster pace. Currently, we are growing in the range of 3 to 4% per annum, notwithstanding what is the claim of Mr. Ishaq Dar. The economy is growing in the range of 3 to 4% per annum. Pakistan needs to grow at an average rate of 7 to 8% going forward to absorb these young people entering into the job market. How can we grow so fast? We require investment. Where do we find our resources for investment? Our saving is low compared to our investment requirement. Therefore, we rely on other savings. We request those countries that if you have a surplus, please share with us so that we can supplement our domestic saving to meet our investment requirement and achieve a certain rate of economic growth, which is required to provide jobs and resources to educate our people. So this is the reason that a country wants to get resources, but it depends on the country, how it utilizes these foreign aid. We cannot live forever on foreign aid. The country, we should become an aid giver, not aid seeker, but it is a matter of time.
Thank you, Dr. Ashfaq. I just have a question for you, and you have about 2.5 minutes to answer that. I mean, realistically speaking, how do we break this begging bowl? I mean, you're saying that we still need aid to do various things, but are we doing those various things? How will we break the begging bowl?
That's a very pertinent question. As I stated, that we cannot live forever on external resources because foreign aid is not a free lunch. Whosoever provide you resources, they have a political clout, and you have to compromise your economic sovereignty to that respect. Now, it will be requiring roughly around 24% investment rate. Our savings today is in the range of 12 to 14% of the GDP. So there is a huge gap between our investment requirement and saving available resources within the country. Now, who saves in Pakistan? There are 3 agents who saves in any country. One is household, like we are all sitting here every month, we try to save something from out of our disposable income. The second category of people are our businesses, corporate savings. And third and most important saver is the government. Now, people generally saves on average 16-17% of their income on average in Pakistan. Corporate saving is only 1%. So that adds to 17%, for example, 16 plus 1%. And government saves 3%. That reduces our savings and hence our reliance on foreign savings or foreign aid. Now, if government by raising resources, try at least not this safe, it should generate as much revenue to meet its day-to-day or recurring expenditure. 3% more savings will be generated in the country. That leads to 17, 18% savings. And through this savings, we can keep on generating jobs, and income of the people will keep on rising. And with the rise in income, the saving will also keep on rising. A time will come that Pakistan will become an aid giver, not aid seeker. It is a matter of management.
Matter of management. Well, we're going to see what the opposition has to say about that, and I'd like to invite Mr. Fawad Chaudhry to make his opening statement. You have 2 minutes.
Okay, now I think it's good. Okay, first, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for being here, especially because apparently the subject that is written is very boring, and second, it's a lunch time, and you guys have sacrificed that too. So I must thank you for that. Well, as far as this aid is concerned, I think where to start? Around 10,000 years ago, if we go back on the banks of Tigris and Arafat, human mastered two arts, the irrigation and domestication of animals. And that was basically the beginning of a new phenomena that we now call society. And this phenomena of society is nothing but aid and cooperation. And now, I don't know that, can we live without aid of each other? Answer is no. From birth to death, we need aid and cooperation of others, and that is the phenomena we call society. And this society is basically, there are the interpretation. No idea is absolute, except obviously the religious ideas. No idea is absolute, and their ideas can be interpreted in various ways. For example, we can say that the aid is basically the compromise of compromising the sovereignty, we can say, and it's a subjugation, and obviously leads to corruption. And if aid money ends up in Panama or in the British Virgin Islands, obviously then the things are different. But we need aid. And we need aid basically to bring the society, to aid the society. For example, if in the turn of the last century, if there had not been an international effort, there had not been an international aid to counter the epidemic of malaria, half of the world population, or maybe I don't know, that we would have survived as a society or not. Likewise, we see now that polio could not have been eradicated if there would not have been an international cooperation. Aid is nothing but a cooperation. And states, the rich states, the poor states, everyone needs aid. Rich states need aid in their own meaning, and poor states need aid in their own way. So basically, I think the only thing that can be criticized, what I take it from this opposition of the aid is that it leads to, it's the misuse of the aid that is an issue, and not the aid per se. Yes.
Thank you, Fuad. I just wanted to ask, you talk about aid and cooperation, and when you talk about aid and cooperation, you assume that, it's aid in the sense of cooperation, not aid with strings attached to it. So given the fact that Pakistan is in a difficult situation these days, and there's a huge amount of sectarian violence, should we be taking aid from a country like Saudi Arabia?
Well, it's the spending of the aid that matters the most, and it's like
not the conditions that the aid comes with.
Well, no country will impose a condition that you have to spend aid on exploiting their agenda. It's for us to decide that how the aid will be spent. As I said, right now it appears to me that in this opposition of the aid, primary issue is the spending and the way we utilize aid, and not the aid per se. Because if for example, we need international aid to against terrorism. That terrorism is not only a Pakistan's phenomenon, it's an international issue, and international community must aid Pakistan, must help Pakistan to come out of it. Likewise, as I mentioned, epidemic of polio. Polio is not only a Pakistan's problem, it's an international problem, and world has to cooperate in that. So, but at the same time, I think the good governance and transparency are the key elements, and these are the strings that should be attached to the aid. If we are not governed properly, we can't criticize aid. And if we are not utilizing money, we can't.
Okay, thank you. I now go back to the proposition and ask Naeem to give us his 2 minutes.
Right, thank you. The more the world has studied the generosity package called aid, the more it has been found out that it is a process in which money from the poor people of the rich countries is taken and given to the rich people of the poor countries. On my part, I have done a 2-year study on comparing a nation state and a set of 200 random beggars to find out how do entities perform when they bank on other people. So my study of beggars, the consensus was that they had 3 main issues that they came up with. One, that their children cannot go to school. Second, that they do not have clean drinking water to drink. Third, that they have to defecate in open. And fourth, that they have been rendered useless, helpless, clueless. They have lost their ability to think out of the box for creative solutions for moving forward. Comparing that with Pakistan, I found the situation even more worse. Pakistan today is $74 billion under debt. And on those parameters, it's 22.6 million children do not go to school. It's 84% population does not have access to clean drinking water. It's 44% people defecate in open, and it's 99% sewage, untreated, goes into the rivers, canals, and seas. However, and at the same time, it has reduced us into a similar condition of helplessness. Today, even if we want to collect the garbage of our cities, we have to bank on Chinese or Turks to do that. And last of all, the intellectuals of this country, even today, keep on discussing whether aid is good or bad, not realizing that today's slavery is not people in chains, but people in debt.
Thank you, Naeem. There are many people here who say that we are a developing country and taking aid is, there's nothing to be ashamed about that and we should take it. But the only thing people say is that our leaders should have the courage to tell the truth to the nation, to the public, and say how important aid is, rather than saying the opposite in public. Most politicians say the opposite. So what would you say to those politicians and people?
The politicians and the bureaucracy makes hay with the aid. But that should not be our concern. Our concern should be how well have our people done. And I've just briefly described how well our people have done. I think the fact that we are in a hurry to develop and we take loans or aid is not the right approach. Let us develop slowly but surely. Please appreciate that the $50 billion package that is now coming through the CPEC, the much advertised, actually will make us pay $90 billion in return over next 30 years. So so that means extra $40 billion. Would it not have been better for us to take it easy and collect these resources, collect the taxes from the people, not misuse those taxes, not send that money abroad, and develop on our own muscle? Thank you.
Thank you. I just have one more follow-up question. How do we do this? How do we collect it on our own? How do we make sure it goes in the right place?
How many people pay tax in Pakistan? Very few people pay tax in Pakistan. There has to be tax collection. We have to collect our own money and spend it on our own selves. That's the only solution to this. Yeah.
Thank you. Herman, I'm going to come to you. Your 2 minutes, please.
Thank you very much. Welcome, everybody. I am from a very wealthy European country that actually should have been a swamp But we're not, and we're all having more or less a very comfortable life. The only reason for that is because people pay a lot of tax. More people have jobs, they pay a lot of tax, and that tax money is actually spent in a way that benefits the larger public. Because no one wants to be swimming all the time when instead you should be working. Now, our problem is we have too much water and it needs to somehow get away. We made the investment, it's under control, everybody sleeps. That's our problem, not anymore. In Pakistan, water is also a problem. Most of the time it's the shortage, sometimes it's the surplus of it. Food security is a problem, health is a problem, education is a problem. There's not a lot of public provision of these services that in the 21st century in many countries actually are quite available in many places. Now the question that you have to ask as Pakistan leadership and government is, do we want to continue as we have been or not? And yes, maybe there is a choice to be made between organic growth, so slowly but steady and not indebting yourself through foreign aid is one way to go. Another would be you need a step change. You're so far behind that you need to make a sort of an explosive development. That would require aid. Now, for example, if we look at the water situation of Pakistan, my guess would be that it would, in a very short time, need an awful lot of investment to make sure that people can afford clean drinking water at the level that they have now in the future, even let alone improve it. So is there really a choice? I don't think so. Aid would be required. At the same time, we're in the 21st century, education is available in so many countries. If it is for many people not in Pakistan, you'll lag ever further behind and you can not even afford organic growth, even though maybe from some perspectives that would be better. So you don't set the stage yourself, you don't live in a microcosmos, you live in a globalized world. And I think here, the time where you can say like, we do not want aid is gone. What is important though is the effectiveness of the aid. It has been dismal, I think, so far, and we all know why. And as a foreigner, I tread very carefully not to say why that is, but I think we all know why. Would it not be smarter to look at improving the utilization of the foreign assistance that can be made available and make sure that you get that not only you, but also the taxpayer from other countries, and they're not all poor, many of them are maybe not necessarily wealthy, contribute to the tax that turns into the aid that goes to Pakistan. I think they too would like to see a better utilization of that aid money. But both would benefit because on the one hand, there would be less question marks on providing the aid to Pakistan, and the people in Pakistan will get more bang for the buck.
Thank you. You've worked in lots of other developing countries, Indonesia, Bangladesh, etc. So what has been your experience in those countries vis-a-vis the utilization of aid, and what lessons can Pakistan learn? Because if there is a gap here, how do we close that gap?
It's mostly about political will. It's also about political representation. In many of the poorest countries where I've worked, they're democratic countries in name. People can all vote. They were all on voting day come back with a red thumb. They've all put their thumbprint there. But the ones that can elect will not represent their interest. And as long as that is the case, utilization of aid money is very questionable.
You know, aid is also used as a political tool in this country. You know, you have anti-US demonstrations and people come out and they say, we don't want to be, you know, under an American yoke because they're giving us money, etc. So there's this negative perception, negative sentiment in the public sphere. How do you educate the public then about the benefits of aid? I mean, we hear a lot about the negatives, but what about the benefits?
Yeah, I think if the aid utilization is effective, it will be not that difficult to demonstrate the benefits. If the aid utilization is mostly going in unintended ways, you have a very hard time beyond the Panama Papers and the like to show the aid utilization, and there are no benefits. So, yeah, again, it boils down to representation. If those who are supposed to benefit most from it will, believe me, there won't be these question marks. If it's just a political tool and no one looks very hard at the utilization of it, then there will always remain a lot of probably justified criticism.
Okay, we are going to open this debate up to the House. You can submit questions. I think they give out these little note cards. If you can hand them to somebody.
This is such an important subject, it required a real presentation for 1 hour presentation and then question answer. Answering, replying in 2 minutes time and 3 minutes time will always remain half-baked, right? We might be missing some important points. Let me tell you that neither the aid recipient nor the aid givers are serious in changing the fate of the people. The amount of money the international organizations and the countries gave to the African world, believe me, every African child would have slept on a dollar bed. But the fate of Africa has not changed. And let me give you an eyewitness account. In 2005, I attended an aid effectiveness conference in Paris. And you can see, and I was representing Pakistan, you can see that there were two clear segregation. On the one hand, all the aid givers were sitting, and on the podium like this, all the top, like the head of the World Bank, IMF, European Central Bank, all those people were sitting at the podium. On right-hand side, all white people. On the left-hand side, it was all black. And all those black who were representing their African countries, they were either advisor to the president or advisor to the finance minister or advisor to the prime minister. None of the leadership was present there. And I raised the same question. I said, sir, when I was a graduate student in Johns Hopkins University in 1985, I worked for World Bank as an intern, and everybody in the World Bank was working on sub-Saharan Africa. Every desk in World Bank was working on sub-Saharan Africa on different issues, be it exchange rate, aid effectiveness. And I said, sir, we were discussing the same issues in 1985. Today it is 2025, 20 years after, we are discussing the same issues. And believe me, when my son will become 25 years old, maybe in 2015 and 2020, we will still be discussing the same thing. And believe me, today we are discussing still the same thing as from this platform. You can see what is the topic? Aid and its effectiveness. Neither the aid receiver nor the aid givers are serious. In the case of Pakistan, we borrowed money in dollar. For what purpose? For public toilet in KPK. Can you imagine that we can generate return on those invested resources from public toilet and return that money to from where we received that dollar?
Right.
So it depends on us. How do we use dollar aid?
Yeah.
If we are serious in making the aid effectiveness more efficient, believe me, for time being we may take aid, but later on the country has the potential to become the aid giver, not aid receiver.
As long as we're not building toilets. We've got a lot of questions, so maybe you can take one of the others. We have a very interesting question here on CPEC and its impact on the Pakistan economy. One, is it aid, investment, or a loan? And two, how will it improve Pakistan's economy in the next couple of decades? This is from Dr. Shah of AKU. Do you want to take QAU? Do you want to take a question on CPEC? You want to take a question on CPEC?
In fact, on the CPEC, we frankly don't know what it is all about. We don't know the transparency. We don't know why, where the money is, because we know that $46 billion has been promised to Pakistan. Out of that, $36 billion is a loan, $11 billion is a loan, and $36 billion is basically a commercial loan. And I think Dr. Ishfaq Sahab can basically tell us more about it. But I know that in the last 2 months, we have again secured short-term loan from China only for our balance of payments. So the way this, and all the contracts which have been awarded to Chinese companies are not transparent. Not a single contact details has been released. So we are as stranger to this whole phenomena as anyone else. And I think except Hassan Iqbal Sahab and Nawaz Sharif Sahab, no one knows about the CPAC.
But we also wonder about that because there is no information on CPAC available in the public sphere. I've got a question here from Sahir Iqbal, I think. Why is there so much emphasis on aid instead of multilateral trade? Are you providing access to American markets, to local business community, etc.? Don't give us fish, teach us how to catch the fish. Naeem, do you want to take that?
That's exactly the point we've been making, not to get the fish. We might be not doing well in spending our own money in the sense that we take public money and go to other countries to get our blood pressure checked periodically. However, we are experts in wasting the aid. And there are millions of examples, but one which comes to my mind readily is that we took $650 million US aid for Karachi to improve the sewage system and to improve the traffic system. Today, the traffic system is in complete mess, or at least 3 times bigger mess than it was before, and the sewage system has become zero in the sense that all the 3 treatment plants are not functioning and the entire sewage is going out in the raw form. So it's a terrible thing because you stop thinking when you take aid. That's the fundamental harm that it does to you is that you stop thinking. If I have to go away from here and I don't know how I will go, I will need to think and I'll find a way. But if I know that a Beacon House transport is waiting for me, then I don't need to think. That's the point.
Yeah, but I just want to tell you that they've taken very good care of the sewage. It's all going directly into the sea and then coming back to you in the form of the fish you eat. So it's, it's completely being recycled. Yeah, so we're good on that. Herman, I think this one is for you. How would you evaluate the aid given to European countries through the Marshall Plan, which really did help put European war-torn economies back on track? This is from Zarmeena Khan.
Yeah, I think it's a very, very interesting question. Without it, most European countries would not have recovered as fast from the devastation of the Second World War compared to what they did, and there is absolutely no doubt about it. The aid, though, was not given just from the goodness of the heart of the American government. It also created market for American products because none of them could at that time be made anymore in Germany or in many of the other war-torn countries. So basically it was a double-edged sword. To say that it was a very unfair deal, I think would not be right, although you hear from some corners. Without it, I doubt that Europe would have the welfare states, welfare levels that they have nowadays. And in a sense, it has the potential, but I'm not saying that it will. It has the potential. Potential does not necessarily get achieved. That something like CPAC obviously is not a one-sided deal. The Chinese do not do this from the goodness of their heart. I think very few people with a functioning thinking ability will believe that. But it doesn't necessarily preclude the fact that Pakistan could also not draw the maximum benefit from it as well. Maybe not necessarily the prevailing or preferred Pakistani companies for individual contracts, but if the infrastructure gets improved quite a lot, it's also time to think about how you can otherwise use that infrastructure that's not there right now and make it work for you, and not only for a CPAC project. If you're very passive about it, for sure, the benefit will be mostly going to the Chinese. They've thought it through, believe you me. Yeah.
Well, they say that Europe also, the benefit went to the donors. But I have a question here which is quite fun. So I'd give each speaker like maximum 1 minute to answer it, but not more than that because then we have to move on. Is CPAC the new East India Company of the 21st century? I like it. So I think I'd give each one of you a minute for that.
In the age of globalization and interconnected world, this question has lost its meaning. When East India Company came to this part of the world, it was not globalization. The worlds were not interconnected. So this question has lost its interest. The only thing is that it all depends how we manage our home, how we manage our economy, how we manage our country. If we are not serious in managing the country, if we want to survive on others' resources, there are countries who will continue to provide resources to us for their own motives. So, one thing we should all keep in our mind, that borrowing within the country and from outside the country is a normal part of economic activity. If this would have been a bad thing, we would have not seen the emergence of commercial banks around the world. What is the purpose of the commercial bank? They mobilize resources from one section of the society and give it to the another section of the society. There are surplus from one section of the society, and there are deficit to the other section of the society. And their job is to play the role of intermediary. Had borrowing would have been a bad thing, do you think that the people have created commercial banks around the world? The answer is no. So it all depends how we utilize the borrowed resources to our benefit. A country cannot survive.
Yeah, my answer is yes. And as I said earlier, the modern day slavery is not about chains, it's about debt. And Pakistan, by taking something like 46 billion or 50 billion, would be paying just as much extra money to repay the principal and the interest on that in the next 30 years. So we would be slaves for next 30 years, call it East India or China, Pakistan, whatever you might call it.
The China East India Company.
But I think I would not like to put such extreme how should I explain it? I think we are getting $46 billion. This is good. We need investment and we need new jobs. We need infrastructure and we really need countries to invest in Pakistan. We need money to come into Pakistan. That's a positive thing about that. But how, as the other speakers have said, how we manage this spending? For example, we are Sri Lanka is an example where Sri Lankans got investment. They had lots of Chinese investment, lots of Chinese projects, but ultimately they came out of it, and now they are basically the Sri Lankan. There is a tussle between Sri Lanka and Chinese on those Chinese CPEC kind of projects in Sri Lanka. So we need to be we need to learn from the other countries, from the other experiences. But definitely we need investment. We need money come in.
Yeah, lots of lessons learned. Sri Lankan rupee has crashed as a result of all this. It's 155 to the dollar now. Yeah.
What time to visit Sri Lanka?
Absolutely. Herman, your thoughts? Just a minute, because now we're end of the session.
Well, I'll be very quick then. CPEC, the new East India Company, well, only if you allow it to be and if you want to wallow in the victim role. I worked in a country called Vietnam from 1991 to 1995. It was dead poor when I started working there. If I now come back, I cannot believe what I see. You think they were such frugal savers to get that all done? No, obviously not. They are frugal savers, but if that was not with loans that they managed to utilize very effectively and get a rate of return that would make everybody envious in the whole wide world, where practically everybody benefits from it, not all in the same degree, I think maybe this doesn't have to be the new East India Company. It just depends on the attitude towards it. Thank you.
We're now going to close the arguments on this debate, so I'm going to ask Mr. Fuad Chaudhry to make his closing summary for the opposition.
Well, the good thing is that what I realize is that both of our opponent speakers also agree on aid. And they also believe that it's not the aid that is bad, it's the spending and the things related to the strings attached with the aid that is the problem and the spending of the aid that is the problem. So this was exactly our motion, that is not about the concept of aid that is bad or anything to do with that. It's primarily the spending and the strings attached with that is the issue, and primarily it's for us, for the country who is the recipient of the aid, that how we utilize that money that is coming in. And that is the problem. That is not only the problem with the aid, that is a problem with every penny we have. We have our own issues. We spend our own tax money like the way we spend aid money. For example, the Balochistan 6.5 million population received 2 trillion rupees in last 6-7 years, and where the whole money has gone. So primarily the problem is not the aid, but the spending of the money.
Right. So primarily the problem is the spending of the aid, and how can you get aid? Can you get aid without strings? That's the other question. Dr. Ishfaq.
See, as I pointed out, that at the initial stages of development, every developing countries requires assistance from outside. But when they get assistance, how they are utilizing these resources, borrowed resources, is actually what matters. Are we using for our personal benefit and taking money outside the country, or we are spending of these monies on our people and improving their living standard is what matters. But it all depends how we utilize the borrowed resources to benefit ourselves. This is one thing. The second thing is that a country cannot always survive or live with dole from outside. We have to generate our resources. And when we say we generate our own resources, charity begins at home. It depends on our leadership. If the Prime Minister of any country is paying its due taxes, he or she will have the moral authority to ask the people of Pakistan to pay taxes because he or she is paying taxes. If I don't pay taxes, I have no moral authority to ask the people of Pakistan to pay taxes. So charity begins at home. If Prime Minister pays taxes, he will ask his cabinet minister to pay taxes, due taxes, and then his member of parliament will be paying taxes. Then there will be a moral pressure on the people of Pakistan to pay taxes. If I don't pay taxes, what moral authority I have to ask the people of Pakistan to pay taxes? So, therefore, it depends all on us how we manage our economy. Do we want to live all the time on, or we want to remain as an aid-dependent country, or we want to be an aid giver? It all depends on the management of the economy.
Thank you. So as they say, no representation without taxation. There was a very funny thing that happened quite a few years ago, when a senior politician from a political party said he would send a Benazir income support form to someone who had been prime minister a couple of times, because his tax returns showed that he had only paid 5,000 rupees in tax. So that was quite cute. We are now going to do the post-debate poll. I'd request you all to vote, and then we will show both the results, the pre-debate poll and the post-debate poll, up on our screens. And I also think that there are a few things that are really important that one could just sort of mention here, and that is the whole issue of aid to Pakistan. We've received billions and billions of dollars in aid over the last 60 years or so, and there has been a questioning of this aid and the conditions attached to this aid. And one of the things that we really need to do as a nation is to relook at the aid we receive, why we receive it, and what we're doing with it, which is what both sides have said pretty much. So can you all vote quickly, please, so we can put our results up? Tell me before the debate, how many of you voted for the motion before the debate? for the motion? Before, which means no aid. How many of you voted for the motion prior to the... Okay. Now, how many of you voted for the motion post-debate? Yeah. How many of you vote no aid? Pakistan should not be an aid recipient. Okay. How many of you voted against the motion before the debate? That means aid. Give Pakistan aid. Send the money. Okay, very few. And how many are now voting send the aid? So I think, just on a show of hands, the motion is carried. Thank you all very much. Thank you. But